Welcome, everybody, to the X Factor podcast today on a great episode coming right for you. And we have been out for a little bit now. Been going out for a little bit. I moved, had no internet, had um, no internet. Plus, Thanksgiving, a lot of things happened. So we're going right back in the groove of things. Starting today, we're going to get right into it with the college football playoff. I'm going to talk about the college football championship weeks and everything. Those were really fun too. Um, and then we'll get on with everything, and then we'll start talking about NFL again. And then once that gets rolled right into it, we'll get back to our wrestling talk that we have every day of the week for every show. So we're going to get right into it and talk about it. The college football playoff. Well, the last week championship weeks we had was absolutely insane. We had some great matches all over the board of college football. Now we have a good old weight coming through. Washington takes a good one off of Oregon. Every time, the first time these two teams played, it was just a enjoy to watch. It was just a very enjoy to watch between Bo Nix plus Michael Penix. And I've said before in other videos, I have followed both of these two throughout their whole career, from when Auburn for Bo Nix, and then Indiana with Michael Penix and him tearing his ACL, and then Bo Nix not doing his potential, and Auburn now look at them both now. They're both Heisman finalists, in my opinion. Michael Penix takes a good one off of Bo Nix again. Liberty takes a good one off New Mexico. Georgia upsets Alabama. In my eyes, it was an upset in some ways. Also kind of seen it coming, though. Georgia, I feel like Georgia is one of those teams that throughout this whole year, they've been struggled in the first half, and then they'll come back in the second half where they've had their moments with some teams. Like they had moments with Auburn, they had moments with Missouri, South Carolina, surprisingly, and they just come up short with Alabama. Michigan takes down my Iowa, which I'm an Iowa fan. Sucks. 28-6-0. Iowa's offense is non-existent, and thank God Brian Ferentz is out of his position. Florida State takes a good one off Louisville, 16-6. They don't have Jordan Travis, which he got hurt a couple weeks ago, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. And I didn't really watch. I didn't watch that game, but so anyone needs to know what happens, cool. Texas just blows out Oklahoma State, right out of the freaking blue, just 49-21 blowout. And then SMU beats Tulane 26-14. So that was our championship week games for the week. So that is something to look forward to upcoming through the rest of the, or that was something that we had to look forward to through the last couple of weeks, or last week and a half. Now we have the college football playoff, which we've had some big shockers, which I feel like I should address. But we're going to talk about some of these bowl games that we're going to have. Trying to find the list here. I'm trying to find the list of the bowl games. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, George Southern versus Ohio. The Cricket Celebration Bowl, Howard versus Florida A&M. I don't really know if R+L carries New Orleans Bowl, Jackson State versus Louisiana. Avocados from Mexico, Cure Bowl. Miami from Ohio versus Appalachian State. The Isleta New Mexico Bowl, New Mexico and Fresno State. Starco Brands LA Bowl, UCLA versus Boise State. Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, California versus Texas Tech. The famous Toastery Bowl. I almost said testosterone. Toastery Bowl, Western Kentucky versus Old Dominion. Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, UTSA versus Marshall. UCF for Syracuse, which I'm going to be interested in that one. In the roofclaim.com Boca Ration Bowl. Union Home Mortgage Bowl, Georgia Tech versus UCF, or USF versus Syracuse. Georgia Tech and UCF will be the Union Home Mortgage Bowl. The Camellia Bowl, Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois. 76 Birmingham Bowl, Troy versus Duke. First off, Troy's running back. Trying to get his name up here in a second. Kimani Vidal. Amazing. I watched him versus Appalachian State. He was on fire the entire game. I think he had 5 touchdowns, 26 carries, 226 yards, 9 yards per carry. Amazing. He is a future star running back for any NFL team coming up in the future. The Lockheed Martin's Armed Forces Bowl, James Madison versus Air Force. James Madison finally gets their bowl game after going undefeated or 11-1 this season in their new division that they're in. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Georgia State versus Utah State. 76 Ventures Bowl, Southern Florida versus Eastern Michigan. The Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Utah versus Northwestern. Easy Point Hawaii Bowl, Coastal Carolina versus San Jose State. Quick Lane Bowl, Bowling Green versus Minnesota. The Serve Pro First Responders. There's a lot of bowl games. Texas State and Rice. We're going to keep going down some of these lists here. A lot of bowl games going on. Plus the College Football Playoff and the All-State Sugar Bowl, Texas, Washington, Alabama, Michigan, and the Rose Bowl. Iowa versus Tennessee in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. So that is something. The Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. I didn't even know that one existed. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Ole Miss Penn State. That's going to be a good one. So, yeah, that's going to be our bowl games. I didn't read all of them off, but there was a lot of them. But we got to talk about the College Football Playoff here because we have a good little controversy hitting here for here in the college football talk world. And the controversy around this one is Alabama slips in at number 4 over Georgia. And to be honest with you, I am very shocked about it. In my opinion, I feel like this is, if you look at all the schedules, Michigan, they were one of the top teams coming into this year. They've blown every team out besides Michigan or Penn State and Ohio State and Maryland. Those were probably their 3 toughest teams this year, and they had them back to back to back, and they beat them pretty handily without Jim Harbaugh. So either way, whatever you say, without the whole science scandal, they deserve to be in. And then, of course, they beat Iowa. That was another tough test, but that was more of a defensive tough test than it was an offensive test. And now they have to come in and play Alabama. Washington, who's number 2, they have to play Texas in the Sugar Bowl, but they beat Oregon twice. They beat Washington State, they beat Oregon State by 2. They beat Utah, which at the time they were ranked. They beat USC, and at the time they were ranked. They beat Stanford, Arizona State, and again, like I said, they beat Oregon. They beat Arizona, who were ranked. They had some pretty good ranked victories over some of these teams, and they're in. So I can understand the first 2. I can also understand Texas. They beat Alabama. They deserve to be in. Even though they lost to Oklahoma lost to Kansas, and Texas beat Kansas 40-14. Oklahoma also lost to Oklahoma State, and as I look here, oh wait, Texas beat them 49-21. So either way, I feel like Texas deserves to be in that spot. Now we got to talk about Alabama and Georgia and Florida. In my opinion, I thought they were just going to slip Georgia down a couple spots. I didn't expect them to take fully out of the college football playoff. But, they did. If you look at Alabama's schedule, they beat UT Martin 48-7. Blowout. Or this is Georgia. Georgia, they beat UT Martin 48-7. Ball State 45-3. Their tough test here at South Carolina, they won by 10. UAB, they blew them out. Auburn, they beat them by 7. Kentucky, they blew them out. Vanderbilt, they blew them out. Florida, blew them out. Missouri, tough test, beat them by 9. Mississippi, Ole Miss, blew them out. Tennessee blew them out. And Mississippi and Tennessee are both ranked, and they blew them out. And I believe when they beat Kentucky, they were ranked too, so they blew them out too. So and then they come in, they play Alabama, and they lost, which I feel like they've struggled the entire game. Plus, there were some controversial calls coming in, in the game that happened. Then we look at Alabama, and even though I have said this is Alabama's worst year in a long time. And the thing is, it's our worst year, but they're still good. So you see, they come in, they beat Mid Tennessee 56-7. They lose to Texas. They struggle against Southern Florida or South Florida. They beat Ole Miss by 14. When Georgia blew them out, they beat Mississippi State. They barely beat Texas A&M. They barely beat Arkansas. They beat Tennessee by 14 when Georgia blew them out. They had a good one against LSU. They blew out Kentucky. Georgia blew out Kentucky. They had Chattanooga. They're a small team. And then they barely beat Auburn on a lucky 4th and goal play. So, in my opinion, if you're looking at this, who deserves to be in? They've both have had their struggles against mid-tier to potential upper teams. But it's who gets the spot? I feel like if Georgia and Alabama would play again at some point, if it was just this season, Georgia would have beat them. Let's be honest. I think Georgia would beat Alabama down to the ground. But everyone here is missing about Florida State. And Florida State, they blew out LSU. Alabama didn't do that. They blew out Southern Miss. They barely beat Boston College, which, even though Boston College is not as good as, as the rest of them, Alabama still had that struggle with some teams. With Arkansas, Georgia had some of that struggles too. They beat Clemson in a very good game. They blew out Virginia Tech. They blew out Syracuse. They blew out Duke. They blew out Wake Forest, Pittsburgh, Miami, North Alabama, which I feel like, and that's where Jordan Travis got hurt. And then they beat Florida. And knowing that they won the next 2 games without Jordan Travis at quarterback, you sit there and say, how does Georgia not get in there? Well, let's be honest. Their quarterback play was not the best for Florida State. So either way, if they would have played Michigan, it probably would have been a blowout. Hell, the quarterback they had in there for Louisville, Brock Glenn, 8 for 21, 55 yards. The quarterback, obviously the quarterback is a significant reason. But if he's that big of a reason, why isn't Jordan Travis just put him right up there at MVP or at Heisman? Because if he is such a significant reason on why they're not in there, put him in that Heisman spot. And I believe if you look at the Heisman finalists, it's Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Harrison Smith. I believe, and Penix Jr. I think they were the only. I think Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Marvin Harrison. Yeah, they're the finalists for Heisman, and Jaden Daniels has had such a phenomenal year too. He's had such a phenomenal year, but I feel you want to give it to the best player for the best team. Bo Nix and Michael Penix are right up there too. Hell, Marvin Harrison, he carried Ohio State. I said Ohio State wasn't even that good this year. Ohio State was not even that good, and he still helped and brought them. And now Kyle McCord is leaving, knowing Marvin Harrison ain't gonna be there next year. So Ohio State should be worried. And there also been some rumors about or people saying that Ryan Day should get fired. First off, that'd be the worst thing. Winning organizations or winning teams don't get rid of their coaches when they're winning. If you know they can win and you know that they have the chance to win, keep them on. But if you get rid of Ryan Day, who knows how the team's going to be after that? The team could be awful after that. And if you look at Ohio State, the last couple of years, I'm bringing up their records now. That wasn't on my agenda to talk about, so I'm trying to look up their things now. With Ryan Day, they have lost a total. Well, what's right here? They've been to a college football playoff when during that season where they have I believe they beat Michigan every year up until the last 3 years. And they made it to a championship in 2020. With Ryan Day, they've only lost 7 games. 10 games, my bad. Because they lost 3 bowl games. They lost the Peach Bowl. They lost the National Championship and the Fiesta Bowl while he's been there. So losing just because he loses those games doesn't make up for his case. Yes, he's had bad issues with or he's had blowout losses against Michigan. He's had them loss. The loss this year with Michigan does not help his case whatsoever. But desperate teams, desperate organizations, bad teams, bad organizations make bad firings, make bad releases, whatever. We see it in NFL all the time. Like hell, with Cleveland getting rid of Baker, for example. Bad teams make bad decisions. So I feel like if they would get rid of Ryan Day, it would not help. I think it'd be worse for him. Because unless you're bringing in like a legend like Urban Meyer or hell, fucking bring someone out of grades of heaven coming down to help this team, I don't see why they would have him be fired. I feel like Ryan Day's done a good job. It's just and knowing now with the 12-team playoff, next year would be the real case for everything. If Ryan Day can go in there, or the 12-man, whatever, or team, whatever they're doing, if Ryan Day can't go in and get deep playoff run, then you could sit there and consider it. And that's only if they make it, knowing they're losing their quarterback next year. Julius Fleming just put up his transfer report, I believe. So he's going to have to do something right away to prove that he could stay with Ohio State. But back to Florida, I feel like Florida, they were robbed out of a playoff spot. But knowing, this committee is biased when it comes to the SEC, and I can understand their reasoning of Florida State not being there because they lost Jordan Travis. But if you're going to have Jordan Travis lose or get out of there, at least put him up for the Heisman finalist. Have him have a chance to win it. Because if that's such a big reason, put him in there. Hell, you can have a QB or a backup QB come in there and shock the world for him. Um, so I don't know, and I don't think Alabama's going to win either. Michigan and Alabama are two good teams, like really good teams. Michigan plays defense very well. They won't let Alabama throw. And the best thing for Alabama, the thing Alabama does the best, Jalen Miller runs or they throw it up deep. Those are the two best things. If you can eliminate one of those, which I prefer they eliminate the running game, Alabama don't even have a chance. Because J.J. McCarthy is going to throw that ball. He's going to throw it right through him, just like Quinn Ewers did. They're going to be able to run the ball on him because Blake Corum, best running back in the country. He's going to get, and plus their defense is just so goddamn good. And I know Michigan's coming in there. You know, if Michigan wants to have this good story based off everything that's happened this year, they have to beat Alabama. And then they have to come in and beat Texas or Washington. And with Texas and Washington, it's a big slip because I feel like the only way Texas or Washington win, or one of these, Quinn Ewers or Michael Penix makes a mistake or either one of them two get hurt. I feel like that's the only way one of these two teams are getting past each other. Texas and Washington have both blew out the teams that they need to blow out. They've beaten the teams that they need to beat. Now it's just time for them to come in and do that themselves. Michael Penix, if he makes a mistake, if either one of you makes at least one or two mistakes, game's over for him. And I feel like that's how it's going to be throughout this whole game. Michael Penix has played great competition against great defenses. He's played up against good quarterbacks. He played up against Bo Nix twice and see how those went. He'd be able to get his way in right out. He's been able to slip his way up with Washington State, Oregon State, USC. Like, if your defense slips up, Michael Penix is going to sling that ball right down the middle and he's going to get you. Quinn Ewers, it's the same thing. He's going to get you. He's going to get you right down, and if he sees something open, he's going to throw it. Running the game. Running the ball is going to be huge, too, for each team. So, I expect them to... I expect it to be at least 25-plus point game for each team. If it's anything minus that, I'm going to be shocked. Both teams are going to score 25-plus. It's either going to be a 27-30 game or it's going to be a 45-40 game. And for Alabama and Michigan, I feel like that's going to be like a 27-24 game. But I feel like Michigan wins it. But also, you know, knowing Michigan, I also have a weird feeling that Alabama is going to somehow win this all, too. I think Michigan is going to beat them, but... And either way, I think if they play Washington or Texas, I think Washington or Texas beat them again. But I just have a weird feeling Alabama's somehow going to get lucky and win this whole thing. And that's the one thing I can... It's hard to swallow that, but it's just true. So, we're going to have to see throughout the next couple of weeks how that's going to go. And like I said, for Heisman, for me, it's Michael Penix Jr. It's... Michael Penix, Bo Nix are right there too. But Jayden Daniels, you just can't. Like, if you look up each of their stats, it's just. I believe Jayden Daniels has 50 total touchdowns. It's just crazy. And, yeah, because if I look up here. Michael Penix leads college football in yards. Completion percentage. Bo Nix leads with 77, which is absolutely insane. Jayden Daniels is at 7, and I believe Michael Penix is down here just a wow. He's sitting at 24. Looking at yards, Michael Penix leads by 100. He leads Jane Daniels by a few too. Looking at touchdown passes, Bo Nix is at 40, 30, or four touchdowns, or 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jane Daniels, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Michael Penix, 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So the more if you look at stat-wise, it's Jane Daniels and Bo Nix. But Jane Daniels also has the 10 rushing touchdowns, I believe. So it's going to be very close. But I do believe that the rushing touchdowns is going to overshadow Bo Nix just a little bit, and that's what's going to get Jane Daniels that Heisman Award. But if you're looking based on stats and just quarterback play only, Bo Nix and Michael Penix are two top. Jane Daniels is right there too. But if I had to go with one, I'd probably have to go Bo Nix, based off how everything has gone this year with all of them. So that's just really what I think on the whole situation. NFL awards coming out just real soon. NFL awards are coming out soon. My yearly wrestling awards I'll start this year are coming out soon. Those will be out after January. Tomorrow maybe or Friday, I'll talk about the NFL awards, MVP, who I think should win it, or who's front runners. Who should I talk about? 2 guys already come to mind. So if y'all want to stay tuned for that, follow my subscribe to the YouTube X Factor Sports. Follow the TikTok for my weekly predictions. X Factor Sports 420, and then of course follow the Twitter, which is just OLAS, OLAS, or X Factor Sports with 2 S at the end. The X, F, and the S are all capitalized. So, like I said, soon we're gonna get some wrestling talk back in here, and we're gonna be right back to business like we were about a month or 2 ago. So y'all stay tuned. Have a great day. Stay blessed. Peace.